Today we're talking about Madden 25's gameplay deep dive that just went live. And look, Madden is right around the corner. And don't be one of those weirdos in the comments trying to say, oh, we're playing college football 25. Good game, brother. Of course we are. We're all having a great time. Minus a couple bugs and issues here, but listen, college football 25 is a great game, and I'm hoping that Madden 25 is as well. But with that being said, let's jump into the big things that EA just talked about today for Madden 25's gameplay deep dive. One of the first things EA talked about is Boom Tech, and I still do not love the name. The name just, it feels very cheesy to me, very markety if you ask me, but the tech behind it, I kind of get what they're going for. The three sort of things that make up Boom Tech are going to be physics-based tackle, so hit sticks, cut sticks, trucks, stiff arms, dive tackles are one element. The next component is going to be an all-new physics-driven ball carrier system that's kind of about your balance and recovery. And then the last component is going to be the reloaded hit stick, which is all about timing the hit stick to get the best possible version of that. And to me, it kind of sounds like MLB The Show's perfect system. If you time the hit exactly right and you have it lined up properly, then you get a perfect hit, which more often than not is a pretty good result. Now, with that out of the way, let's kind of jump into physics-based tackling and talk about that. So EA is saying that there are sort of three components of a physics-based tackle in their game for Madden 25. You have the pre-impact, the moment of impact, and the tackle resolution. Some people might be in the comments saying, oh, it's organic physics or it's true physics. It's not exactly that. It's not ragdoll either. And I think if you want ragdoll, that's a whole nother conversation, but that has no business being in this game. The way EA is describing it though is called dynamic animation selection informed by real world physics. But what exactly does that mean? How they're describing it works is basically prior to impact, ball carriers are now anticipate and brace for impact from an oncoming tackler, making them look more intelligent and aware of kind of their surroundings, but also giving the players control over their direction, performing a special move, or if they simply want to stay in the locomotion or the motion they're going in, all the way up to the point of contact being made. And when you play the game, what this basically means is that the times that you would see sort of that suction animation or that sort of weird thing where the players just kind of hitch in a line all of a sudden before the animation takes place, it kind of removes that, which I think we can all agree is a good thing. Now that was on the offensive side, but what about the defender side? Well, for that one, the system is constantly reevaluating potential tackles on every frame until the point of actual collision. And then EA says based on how both of the players have sort of deviated their poses, their move direction, their speed, all these different things sort of compiled in there, that's going to lead to a significantly more variety of tackles that can essentially trigger at that point. There's also things like leverage of the point of impact, the defender, the offensive player, all these different pieces come together to again give us a better looking animation. The really interesting part of this though is at the point of impact, they're saying they have an equation that's sort of factoring in like a muscle strength tool set. EA is claiming this allows the developers to kind of tune the body strength of individual players to match their unique on the field characteristics. So I'm assuming Derrick Henry is going to be tough to tackle. And speaking of Derrick Henry, they say a ball carrier such as Derrick Henry will be tuned stronger than a lighter ball carrier such as Jahmyr Gibbs. The muscle strength tuning in the game is then combined with force, velocity, momentum, and player ratings, and then they leverage both of the players to determine the strength of the tackle impact and the direction of the force in the tackle interaction. This is why I didn't do math in school, because I knew that I would not be able to calculate stuff like this. So the third component is then the tackle resolution, or just what happens after the actual impact. So Boom Tech at this point is basically figuring out all these different animations of what happened pre, what happened during impact, and then the post-impact piece is basically leading to more emergent hit types, stumble variety. Your player could actually get hit, kind of stumble in a variety of different ways, but still keep their momentum, or they could fall down. And it really delivers better, I guess, examples of impact that you're going to see in the game based off who the players are, their strength ratings, where they're leaning. If they are Derrick Henry, for example, could be standing completely upright and get hit by a guy that maybe has a better chance to tackle him than if Derrick Henry's lowering his shoulders and has a full momentum of speed. I think we've all talked about physics in Madden for a long time, and as corny as the name does sound, it sounds like they're actually giving us what we've wanted, which is better impact and better physics. I know a lot of people are going to have questions on, well, what about the abilities in the game that happen to factor into offense or defense, and how does that really work here? The good news is EA has actually sort of reworked a lot of the ball carrier and tackling abilities so that it actually makes sense within this new system. And in some cases, they actually went ahead and created new abilities to help out too. How it's described in the blog is that some abilities will modify force and impact, some will have an effect on the timing or squareness of an actual hit, and some will be a part of the formula in determining the outcome. So here's a couple examples of new abilities built to support the physics-based tackling. We have Tireless Runner, which is stamina reduction, has no impact on a ball carrier's ability to rebalance on broken tackles. We have Extra Pop, which is an increased chance to create a fumble with a perfect hit stick. We have Steamroller, as a ball carrier is significantly harder to be bumped off of your current path when running at full speed. And Form Tackler, the ideal tackle timing window is easier to hit. So with the tackling system out of the way, let's talk about the balance and recovery system. So EA is viewing this as sort of an extension of the physics-based tackling, and they're considering it an emergence of a ball carrier's ability to take a hit, to then stumble, and then recover his balance while actually being, in the game. There's a lot of different ways that sort of impact this. The first one is going to be the quality, or lack thereof, of the actual contact of the hit being placed to them. If you're hitting a player with kind of a glancing hit or a hit that doesn't really hit them square on, that could mean that they're more likely to stay upright. There's also a level of torque that can be applied to the ball carrier when you hit them. So this could actually trigger them to spin in this sort of stumble animation, which then can slow down their locomotion and have other impacts. So imagine you hit a ball carrier, their foot position is really not in a good spot. This could actually trigger a state where they can't realistically recover, even if the hit is not of a good quality, and they actually could just fall down. This gets crazy technical. They're talking about the chance of a ball carrier to recover is being determined by the position of his center mass relative to his feet and his torso, along with the player ratings and abilities that determine if and how quickly a player can recover, combined with muscle strength, tuning, how resilient he may be to taking hits. There's a whole lot that goes into this. After talking about the first two pillars, I think the third one is going to be the most controversial. To me, the first two pillars of physics-based tackling and the stumble and recovery system are things that people will, for the most part, appreciate. Maybe there's some wonkiness here and there, but I think we'll be happy with those. Messing with the hit stick is a dangerous one. Madden 25 is the second time we've had a Madden 25, but it is the 20th anniversary of arguably the most popular move ever in Madden history, and that's the hit stick. How they're viewing hit sticks this year are going to be determined by the timing of the hit and the angle of approach by the defender, in addition to player ratings and muscle strength tuning. What this essentially means is that if the tackle is too early, too late, taken at a bad angle, for example, the hit power at the point of impact will be reduced. Tackle and hit power ratings are also going to influence the timing windows you have to sort of do these perfect hit sticks, so that the chances of hitting a successful hit stick will increase when attempting with high hit power players. Something I did like about this when I tried it, at my time in Orlando and in the beta, is that there's actually on-field feedback that sort of shows you if you're doing it right, if you're too early, too late, just missed it, and all those. There's also control the rumble. If you have a really good hit quality there, you can hear a new sound effects capture specifically for big hit sticks, kind of thinking of like the perfect hit in MLB The Show. There's something very similar for doing a perfect hit stick in this instance. One of the better details though, I think, for this, and while I appreciate those, is hearing the crowd sort of react when you have a big hit stick. You kind of get that little bit of a crowd roar, or a broken tackle, for example. There's kind of that crowd anticipation, a little bit of a roar. That to me is a nuance that we definitely needed. But the best news about a perfect hit stick in this game is that it has an increased chance to force a fumble. I'm good with that. And I think it's going to be a little bit of a skill gap here and a lot of timing. And a lot of people are going to be frustrated at first, but I think we give it a couple of weeks to see how we feel. If it's tuned right, this could be a really good feature. EA went on to touch on a lot of different things. They talked about ball carrier revamp and sort of signature authenticity. There's a lot that you're going to see from a pre-play, pre-snap sort of moment that feels more like the real NFL. There's talk about in the ball carrier revamp system actually seeing players get skinny when they're kind of going through those really tight lanes in between different offensive linemen. I think this is a good change because if you've watched the AI ball carriers move in Madden, there's some really wonky stuff that happens. See those weird herky-jerky moves they're doing. Doesn't really feel like you're watching a real NFL player moving around. It just kind of feels like more like you're watching somebody tweak out on the football field. So if they can do things to make it actually look more realistic and not have those players do those weird side-to-side movements, I think that's a good move. But in terms of when you're actually in control of an offensive player or a ball carrier, what I love they did this year are the changes to skill moves. EA is claiming they've added hundreds of new jukes, spins, high steps, and hezzies, and having had some time with the game, you can really do some wild stuff out there. EA has a new mechanic this year, Madden 25, that they're calling the setup state. And that basically is done by holding down RT or R2 if you're on PlayStation, and then flicking down the right stick, and you kind of enter this setup state. This move has a chance to send oncoming defenders in kind of a bit of a breakdown, meaning your next move as a ball carrier can just kind of send them flying or fake them out. What's interesting about the skill moves in this setup state is you can really chain together moves and put together combos that you have not been able to do in a Madden before, in my opinion. And what I love the most about it is that we've all played people online or your friends, and they just sort of see you in the open field and they click off because they think that the AI defender can do a much better job. This doesn't actually happen now in Madden 25 because you can break down a CPU defender so unbelievably easy, and now they have to actually use their user skills and play as a user on you in the open field. You can kind of juke in a variety of different directions, but EA talked about like a back right juke to a spin move, so you would flick down the right stick to the right and then roll the right stick around the opposite direction to pull off something nasty. They talked about a back left juke to spin, same thing, flip it down to the left this time and then roll it back around to the opposite direction to kind of pull that move off. The best thing about this is finally getting different run styles for guys. I think we've all been playing the game a long time and seen Dude's running down the field and you're like, that just doesn't look like an NFL player, or it doesn't look like that specific NFL player. How Christian McCaffrey runs to Derrick Henry to Tyreek Hill to a random linebacker you might see out there. They all run different, and it's good to be able to see that they're actually bringing in different locomotion styles this year. The three they call out immediately, and I don't know exactly how many they have in the game, but Isaiah Pacheco, Christian McCaffrey, and Saquon Barkley, they say are all immediately noticeable, but I'm hoping we kind of see more than just those guys in the game. Another big change is going to be signature pre-play styles. Again, it's not a massive feature, but it is something that really helps add to the authenticity of the game and kind of deepens your immersion. You're going to see Dak Prescott up at the line doing his sort of road game leg kick and his cadence, yelling, "Here we go." You're going to see Jalen Hurts in that weird shotgun squat low stance that he kind of does. That stuff to me is really cool. CeeDee Lamb has got some stuff in the game. Tyreek Hill has some stuff in the game as well. Speaking of actual gameplay things though, there's a real cool smart pre-play adjustment system. There's always been stuff that's happened kind of under the hood, meaning we don't actually see it, but the game is sort of calculating it for us. But one thing I love that EA is doing this year with Madden 25 is they're kind of bringing it up in a visual way for us to see, but it's not going to be disruptive. So something you might see, for example, is a center at the offensive line putting 5 fingers in the air to kind of alert the rest of his offense that there's kind of been a blocking change. You might see, for example, a tackle alert a guard so that there's edge pressure, a potential edge pressure threat there. You could see a center remike versus a sub defense. You could see a halfback added to base protection, a tackle alert full slide, a tight end alert max protect, a half end empty protect adjustment. There's a lot of different things that can kind of come through here, but it's cool to see a man coverage DB mismatch, for example, a teammate communication for a different mismatch that they might see, defensive signals for bunch trips, jumbo, unbalanced line, low energy exhausted players getting to stance. There's so many little nuances here that it's just, again, it's adding to our immersion and authenticity for the NFL. An interesting thing EA is touting for Madden 25 is that they're touting that you will have more control over catches and the types of catches you're doing in a game than ever before. I think we've all been there in a game where you throw a pass, you go for a catch animation, and you're looking for a rack catch, and you see kind of a possession or an aggressive catch, and you're like, that's not what I was looking for, but the game didn't have an animation to play out there, so they just gave you the next best thing. EA is specifically saying when you hit a catch button in Madden 25, you'll get the exact catch you're requesting, and the system will ensure that the context of the catch will be reflected accurately. So for example, if you decide to hit Y or triangle for an aggressive catch, but the pass is kind of thrown low, they've added new low height jump catches to ensure that you get the button input response desired. They're claiming over 700 catching animations to add more context, athleticism, and control, including easier access to back shoulder catches and back pylon fades. There's also a new catch mechanic they brought into the game this year using L1 or LB, and it allows you to basically attempt a one-handed catch. So what's cool about these is that when you actually try to do one, it's going to actually increase the catch radius you would have, but it also has a much higher drop chance. Ratings absolutely matter for this too, so if you're trying to do this with a low-rated spectacular catch player, then you're going to not really have a high chance of catching it at all. EA also says to add even more control, they've enhanced the ability to branch from one catch to another catch with an additional button press. So if you feel like modifying a spectacular catch to a possession catch, or branching a normal catch to a sideline or possession catch, you can simply switch your button press mid-catch and get exactly what you want to show off your stick skill while seeing the exact catch you wanted to expect. There's some big adjustments to blocking, and they talk about for the first time ever, you'll actually be able to see who the pass blockers are targeting in pre-play, and they have new tools to be able to modify kind of who you're targeting and picking up blitzes and different tendencies of that nature. In my impression, this kind of reminds me a lot of what we have in College Football 25, where you can use, the left trigger, I believe, and to the right to see basically who your guys are supposed to be blocking, what their assignments are, and where they're going. I think that's a really good change. You'll also see the flame emojis pop up on defenders if they're blitzing, if they are not going to be picked up by your current protection of that blitz. This is really important because as a quarterback, if you're playing in real life and you know defenders are coming in hot and you don't really have anybody to block them, you have to make sure that one of your first reads is going back to that spot, because if they blitz from an area, throwing to that area is super important. That's not all that's changing in the blocking system though, because they're actually changing how the pocket forms in Madden 25. They found out that over the years, they've accidentally been speeding up the quarterback dropback speed a little bit too much, and that's kind of messed around with blocking too much. So this year, the pocket should form a lot more naturally than what we've kind of seen in previous years, and it kind of gives you the ability to kind of stay where you should be the entire time and not just rolling out to the right like 90% of Madden players do. The playbook tool has a brand new system this year, so EA is claiming they can kind of treat playbooks like a live service this year, adding in plays significantly quicker than they've ever done before. If you happen to jump into the beta at all or play with Miami has so many motion plays this year, it's kind of insane. And I do think this is one of the years that I've seen Madden really step up their playbooks and their play calling overall, and it feels like each playbook has a lot more depth than we'd seen before, or at least variety. They also mentioned that sort of the legacy custom playbook system doesn't exist anymore, so you're actually going to be able to add plays to your custom playbook from every playbook in the game. They did mention that the ability to save custom audibles is coming to Madden NFL 25 post-launch, so not available at launch, but this is really interesting because it really gives you the ability to save custom audibles and have them carry over from game to game, and that's going to be great news. The new NFL kickoff system is obviously going to be in the game as well. I think you've seen it in the trailer where they use my Steelers and Justin Fields back there returning kicks. How dare you, EA? But what I think is really cool is the dev team worked with an NFL coach to kind of figure out, okay, what are coaches kind of planning to do with this? What are some ideas they have? And I think there's going to be some cool layers of strategy kind of built into kickoffs this year. Some other big updates that you're going to find from a hot route perspective, your basic route tree is now going to be available by default. So you can now run posts and corners as well as custom stems, and hot route abilities will now only need to be unlocked to unlock exotic routes. From an X Factor and Superstar ability update, knockout abilities, these are now far less likely to force knockouts late in the catch or after a catch has already been secured. They have Secure Protector. The ability is no longer guaranteed to counteract competing rush abilities. For inside stuff and no outsiders, these abilities will no longer function if the defensive team uses pass commit, which I think is a great change. And for set feet lead and pass lead elite, these both will have a reduced pass velocity bonus. Pass coverage is always a really hot topic in Madden, so let's talk about some changes they're having there too. In Madden 25, they've improved rally to the flats to make them react quicker to checkdowns, which I think we could all agree has needed to be done for a long time. They have a new cover 3 match versus non-bunch trips formations called Skinny, which focuses on the backside hook curl to help on crossing routes coming from across the field. This has been something that has been abused in Madden for so long, and the fact that we're finally getting that adjusted, I just hope it works. They're also bringing cover improvements to cover 2, cover 3, and cover 4. Tampa 2, though, has a new zone that does not match the curl zone and is used on base Tampa 2 plays that don't include a blitz, meaning to avoid underneath defenders from kind of matching and getting cleared out as easily. They also mentioned that they improved the drop depths and locations for curl flat and hook curl players to better carry over vertical routes on cover 3. Man coverage is getting a boost to improving how defenders read wide receiver cut moves. RPO defensive improvements are also coming. I think we can all raise our hands on this one. This is good news. So defenders align over receivers, so like a slot or a flat defender will read their keys and prioritize pass responsibilities over playing the run. Perimeter defenders will be more aggressive in shedding blocks by receivers, which wide receivers have been blocking like elite offensive linemen for way too long, especially in RPOs. And then defensive read and react was tuned to increase box defenders' awareness and reaction to the handoff. I talked about College Football 25 very briefly in the beginning, but something I love is that there's a lot of shared features that are coming over from College Football 25, and that's great news because gameplay-wise, College Football 25 is a lot of fun, even though some of you can't play defense. So they're bringing over 15 different minigame experiences that are going to be new, including an all-new gauntlet experience, so pocket presence, pitch party, backfield survival, bucket drop, and 2-minute drill are all coming over, including the return of Gauntlet, which I think people are going to be excited. Gauntlet's a good time, and it's a good way to warm up. Defensive switch stick is a high-level player's dream, and it's been something that's been really good for College Football 25. If you don't know, that's using the right stick before the pass is thrown to kind of move around the defenders. It's great when you're trying to stop post corners or corner routes or anything deep that somebody's running, or maybe even an out route here and there. It's a great way to kind of bait the offensive player into doing something they shouldn't be doing or thinking they have an advantage, and then you can show them you have the advantage. Coverage cells are also going to be coming over, so you can line up in a cover 4 and try to show the defense that you're lining up in something else with a coverage cell, so they might think you're in a cover 0 or cover 2 and play to what they think the strengths of those are, but you actually can bait them pretty well. So coverage shells, again, a high-level Madden thing, but glad to see it here. Custom route stems are going to be coming in, so this allows you to turn maybe a 3-yard slant into a 10-yard or a 5-yard out into a 12-yard out. It's sort of really nice. You can do this on a lot of different routes, and it just makes it even more cool to draw up a play that you really think is the perfect one for your down and distance. The best feature from College Football 25 that's coming over, in my opinion, though, is the new kick meter is going to be standard for online play, standard for your experience. You can still default to the old one of just sort of like, sliding the right stick up or whatever to kick your field goals. But the new one where you have to have the side-to-side sort of, accuracy component and then also hold it to get to the meter filled up, that will be jumping into Madden 25, and that is fantastic news for all of us. They're also bringing in some of the updated crowd and sideline reactions, probably, I'm assuming, those cutscenes you'd seen in College Football 25, where they have the surrender cobra and fans reacting. I think that's great. And then the read option mechanic from College Football 25 is also coming over. And I think that's good news because I think a lot of us don't want to have to try to remember which game we're playing and which mechanic we need to be doing. it's good to build that muscle memory and just have it from the jump. And that's all I got today for Madden 25. If you enjoyed the video, do me a favor, leave a like and subscribe because we're so close to 250,000 subscribers. Be safe, be smart, tell somebody you love them. Catch you guys on the next one.